I come forward to you all with a confession today. I've made a mistake. Some of you might know that I have a webcomic named Outcasts, but a lot of people don't. To keep it short, I've been working on a fantasy adventure webcomic called Outcasts for more than 2 years now. And while I promote it a lot here on my YouTube channel, via links to my Patreon, my webcomic on Tapas, some people are really confused when I talk about my OCs. So I have a surprise for you all. In celebration of the 2-year anniversary of Outcasts that was this August, this video is going to be a little different, but in a cool way. The first half of this video will be a basic rundown of the main and supporting characters of Outcasts and its world, and the second half will be a Q&A about my webcomic, me as a person, and how I got to where I am now. So let's jump headfirst into the country of Aria and the cool and wonderful world that is my webcomic. But before we get into it, let's do our quick, hey, what you drawing part of the video. The art you're watching me draw in the background is an artwork piece that I thought of when I was on vacation. And that idea was to put some of my OCs from my webcomic into cosplay. We've already done Gravity Falls and the musical Beetlejuice, so this is the final cosplay of Grace, Gabe, and Dustin cosplaying Luce, Hunter, and Gus from the OwlHouse. I had so much fun with this one. It was so cool and fun to see my characters with pointy ears and just really get into the magic system. If that sparked your interest or you want to learn more about the characters, you can check out my webcomic Outcasts on Tapas and come join my Patreon for exclusive content. Joining my Patreon gets you exclusive content, early access to Outcast comic pages, YouTube videos before they're released, and lots of other cool stuff. It also helps me out a lot. Links to both are in the description. So, without further ado, let's answer the real question a lot of you are probably thinking right now. What is Outcasts all about? So, let's start with our main protagonist and the one who sparked the creation of Outcasts, Grace. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I drew Grace once before she even had a name. I drew her in my notebook and then I was like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be the start of a webcomic, let's go. So let's start with her. Grace is a 15-year-old tomboy with a rebellious streak, but that's not without reason. After she and her twin brother Gabe were born, she and her family have been forced to live in hiding, all because of something that she cannot control or change, her innate magical abilities. After 15 years of living in hiding and knowing that she and Gabe have bounties on their heads, she decides to sneak out of her sheltered life with her brothers and into the town of Rose Lake, Aria. And this is what ultimately kicks off the webcomic. Her main magical power is hydrokinesis, which allows her to control and generate water. This links to her easy go-with-the-flow personality. Not only is Grace a loving and caring sister, but she's also a fun-loving extrovert who loves to goof off, which sometimes gets her in trouble. And it does more often than not. But every yin has its yang, so let's talk about Grace's twin brother, Gabe. Gabe Myers is Grace's twin brother. Even though Grace is 2 minutes older than him, oh my gosh, she will never stop hanging that over Gabe's head. Personality-wise, Gabe's the polar opposite of his twin. He's very introverted and prefers being alone than socializing with people like his sister. But what kind of sister would Grace be if she didn't pull Gabe into her messes? And Gabe does the same thing. If he finds an interesting book or story, he will hound Grace into reading it with him. He's definitely the family bookworm. If you told him knowledge is power, Gabe would believe it. Not only believe it, but he'd actually prove it. He has the most advanced vocabulary out of all of his siblings, as well as having the most book smarts. If he was in school, his favorite subject would be history. He loves learning about the history of Aria and the surrounding continents. As far as his magical abilities go, Gabe's main magical power is geokinesis, which allows him to control and generate dirt, stone, and earth. This personifies his rigid, go-by-the-book personality. Now let's talk about the family member who can't sit still for 5 minutes. For good reason. The youngest brother, Dustin. Dustin Myers is the 11-year-old baby of the Myers siblings, as well as the most energetic. He hasn't been officially diagnosed with ADHD, but deep down he and his family know. He hasn't gotten a ton of screen time in the comic,
but he definitely fits the youngest sibling archetype. He's attention-seeking and is adventurous just like his big sister, loving the escapades that she drags Dustin and his brothers into. Fun fact, out of the 4 siblings, Dustin is actually the one who resembles his father the most, and I don't mean just appearance-wise. His magical ability is teleportation, just like his father's, which he harnesses through the use of his father's old magical gem. And speaking of fathers, let's talk about the oldest and the most parental of the Myers kids, Josh. Oh, Josh. What can I say about you? Well, he's the oldest Myers kids. Oldest out of the Myers kids. He's 21 years old at the start of the webcomic. Josh is very overprotective of his siblings, especially his only sister, Grace. But he has his reasons. Not only do Gabe and Grace have bounties on their heads, but it's heavily implied throughout the webcomic that, well, their parents' absence, it's no coincidence. All 4 of them have witnessed what became known in the webcomic as the incident. No spoilers, though. You'll have to read the webcomic to find out. This incident put Josh in a hard position. He wants to live freely, yes, but at what cost? He would never want to put his siblings in danger. So, at the age of 17, he took on the responsibility of his 3 younger siblings, and they went into hiding. Josh's magical ability is pyrokinesis, the ability to generate and control fire, which goes along with his temper that comes out when his family is threatened. We get to see a lot of this in the 3rd chapter, so go read it. Also, speaking of Josh's temper, let's lean into a person who really irritates him. It's time to talk about Cole. Cole Jones, what can I say about you? He's a character who's been recently added to the supporting cast of characters in Outcasts, having only been introduced in the 3rd chapter. When we were first introduced to Cole, we know very little about him, only that he alerted Josh when Grace was in danger so that her brother could come save her. Since then, he's gotten a lot of screen time. Maybe that has something to do with Grace? Okay, yeah, if I haven't made it obvious in the webcomic, yeah, he has a huge crush on Grace. Something that he tries to keep secret, but obviously can't. But is it mutual? You'll have to read the webcomic to find out. And if the gray hoodie and blue veins covering his arms aren't clear enough, Cole might have some other dangerous secret that he's not telling anyone. But I'm sure that's nothing to worry about, right? Right? No, seriously, I'm asking, right? Now, let's shift gears into talking about our last supporting character. It's time to talk about Hallie. Haley, what can I say about you? I really can't say much about Haley because she is such a new character. But, well, first, she's named after Halley's Comet, of course. And she is the adoptive niece of Cole. But that's pretty much all I can say about it, other than that she and Cole have a very close uncle-niece relationship. It is so sweet and so nice to see. Honestly, I was originally going to make them brother and sister, but then I decided, what if Cole was the uncle? And then everything fell into place. So, now let's shift gears into the big bad of Outcasts. It's time to talk about Queen Vanessa. While Queen Vanessa is the main antagonist of the webcomic, we haven't seen her get a ton of screen time. But there are hints in there, here and there in the webcomic that show her true intentions. No spoilers, you're gonna have to look for them. Queen Vanessa originally ruled the country of Aria, but assigned her husband, Queen Damien. And when her husband died and she took the throne, she for some reason decided to erase all traces of magic throughout the kingdom, even if that meant destroying all those who possessed it. While we haven't figured out why the queen hates magic so much just yet, trust me, we just ended chapter 6 and we're going into chapter 7. So, you'll find out eventually. We are getting there. So if you have read the Red comic, post your theories in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts.
So now let's move on to Q&A, and let's get into it. The first question is from Sophia Lynn. Do you have any playlists orchestrated towards your story? And do you use music to inspire you? Answer, heck yeah. I use a lot of music to inspire me in making my webcomic. For specific playlists, here's the list. The Greatest Showman, Epic the Musical, duh, and anything from the Hazbinhotel soundtrack. More Than Anything and Loser Baby are honestly two of my biggest favorites, and the two I can most imagine my OCs singing. For which OCs in my webcomic? You have to read it first and then guess in the comments. Second question from Abigail Martin. When did you start drawing? To be completely transparent, I started drawing since I could hold a pencil. But I started taking drawing seriously when I was around 7. I remember making these handmade comics around these time. They were centered around Wonder Woman and Two-Face. So, yes, I have been a sucker for having a strong female protagonist in my stories for a while. I will not be showing these comics on here because, number 1, I don't have them, and 2, that's really embarrassing. This last comic is from Aeneas 1 and has 3 parts, so let's get into it. Part 1. What are your primary influences as a creative? Anything and everything. A lot of it is from TV shows I watched when I was a kid, and some of it is from my own experiences. B. Which webcomic series do you consider to be your favorite? I honestly love all of the characters in Outcasts, but if I had to narrow it down to my top 3, I would have to say Grace, Cole, and Josh. Why are these 3 my favorite? Well, let's answer that in the last question. C. Have you based any characters or locations on real-life people or places that you know? Absolutely, yes. Grace is based on me within her own personal story. She's often judged and shamed for something that she can't control and has no power over. Josh is based on my older brother, mainly his protective nature. While we've had our differences in the past, my brother has been really protective of me for as long as I can remember. And we love each other. Cole is based on a guy in middle school and high school that I had feelings for. While it didn't end up working out, he was still a huge part of my life. My first genuine friend in a new school, and learning that fitting in isn't all what it's cracked up to be. And that standing out from the crowd isn't a bad thing. And if it wasn't already obvious, Queen Vanessa isn't based on a person, but rather society. The toxic and harmful idea and stereotype that everyone has to fit into a specific mold. But you don't. I hope if there's one thing that everyone can take away from a webcomic, it's that you weren't made to fit in. You were made to stand out.
And that's a wrap for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and a special thank you to my Patreon members. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting me in the making of my webcomic Outcasts and my artistic journey. If you want to see more art like this, or you just want to learn more about my webcomic and read it, you can check it out for free on Tapas. Or you can come join my Patreon for exclusive content. Join my Patreon gets you exclusive content, early access to Outcasts comic pages, YouTube videos before they're released, and lots of other cool stuff. Links to all of this are in the description. Please like, comment, subscribe, and keep creating. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!